2026 is not just another year on the calendar. It is a turning point. It is the year where excuses expire, clarity replaces confusion, and average becomes unacceptable. The question is not what 2026 will bring to you, but who you will become to rise and meet it. Because the truth is this: the future does not reward intentions, it rewards decisions. And the decisions you make starting now will determine whether 2026 becomes just another year you survive, or the year you finally level up and lead your life on purpose. 2026 is not just another year on the calendar, it is a turning point. It is the year where excuses expire, clarity replaces confusion, and average becomes unacceptable. The question is not what 2026 will bring to you, but who you will become to rise and meet it. Because the future does not reward intentions, it rewards decisions. And the decisions you make starting now will determine whether 2026 becomes just another year you survive or the year you finally step into your highest level. Most people drift into a new year hoping things will change. High performers decide that they will change. If you don't tell your life where to go, it will take you wherever circumstances push you. Clarity is not optional, it is power. When your goals are clear, your mind stops wandering and your energy becomes focused. Confused goals create confused results. But when you know exactly what you want, what you will tolerate, and what you will no longer accept, everything begins to align. 2026 must be the year you stop being vague and start being intentional. Here's the truth. Most people ignore. Your results are not a reflection of your effort. They are a reflection of your identity. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of who you believe you are. If you see yourself as average, you will produce average outcomes no matter how hard you work. But when you upgrade your self-image, your behavior naturally follows. Before you ask for a better year, ask for a better version of yourself. Change how you think, how you speak, and how you see your own potential, and your life will have no choice but to level up. Many people believe success comes from working harder. That belief keeps them tired, stressed, and stuck. Income, influence, and impact do not follow effort, they follow value. In 2026, the goal is not to do more, but to become more valuable. The marketplace rewards those who solve bigger problems and think at a higher level. Learn skills that multiply your income instead of trading hours for money. When your value increases, your opportunities increase automatically. Every single day, you are spending something more precious than money. You are spending time. Time is a currency, and how you invest it determines the quality of your future. Most people waste time on distractions and then complain about their results. Successful people protect their time because they understand this truth. What you do daily is what you become eventually. In 2026, stop giving your best hours to low-value activities. Guard your mornings, focus your attention, and align your time with your goals. Your calendar will always reveal your priorities. Your environment is shaping you more than your motivation ever will. The conversations you listen to, the content you consume, and the people you surround yourself with are silently programming your beliefs. If you want a new outcome in 2026, you may need a new environment. Elevation requires separation. Sometimes growth demands that you step out of comfortable rooms and into challenging spaces. When you change what surrounds you, you change what's possible for you. But none of this works without one final ingredient: faith combined with action. Belief without movement is just wishful thinking, and action without belief leads to burnout. When faith and action move together, transformation becomes inevitable. You must believe that 2026 can be different, and then prove that belief through disciplined action every single day. Small, consistent actions done with conviction create unstoppable momentum. So as you step toward 2026, understand this: the year doesn't decide your future, you do. You don't need more time, more luck, or more permission. You need clarity, identity, value, discipline, and belief in motion. If you commit to these goals, 2026 will not be remembered as just another year that passed. It will be remembered as the year you finally took control, raised your standards, and became the person your future has been waiting for. Clarity is the starting point of every meaningful transformation. When your goals are unclear, your actions become scattered, your energy is diluted, and your results remain inconsistent. A confused mind cannot produce a powerful life. Clarity brings order to chaos. It gives your thoughts direction and your decisions confidence. The moment you become clear about what you want, what you are willing to work for, and what you will no longer tolerate, you stop drifting and start directing your life. Most people fail not because they lack ability, but because they lack definition. They say they want success, happiness, or growth, yet they cannot clearly explain what those words mean to them. When you don't define your destination, every road feels acceptable, and that's dangerous. Clarity forces you to be honest with yourself. It removes excuses and replaces them with responsibility. Once you know exactly where you're going, distractions lose their power because they no longer align with your purpose. Clarity also strengthens decision-making. When your vision is clear, decisions become simpler, faster, and more aligned. You stop second-guessing yourself because your choices are guided by a clear standard. You no longer react emotionally to situations. You respond strategically. This is where power comes from, not from control over others, but from control over yourself. A clear vision acts like a filter, allowing in only what moves you forward and blocking out what holds you back. When clarity is present, confidence rises naturally. You walk differently, speak differently, and act with intention because you know why you're doing what you're doing. Doubt fades when purpose is defined. Clarity eliminates wasted effort and turns focused action into momentum. This is why clarity is not just about setting goals. It's about deciding who you are becoming and aligning every action with that decision. When your vision is clear, your power becomes undeniable. Long before achievement ever shows up in your life, identity has already made the decision. What you consistently produce on the outside is a reflection of who you believe you are on the inside. Most people try to change their results without changing their self-image, and that's why their progress never lasts. You can set new goals, adopt new habits, and chase new opportunities, but if your identity stays the same, you will eventually return to familiar patterns. Sustainable success always begins with an internal upgrade. Your identity is the lens through which you see the world and yourself. It determines what you believe is possible, what you think you deserve, and what you are willing to tolerate. If you see yourself someone who struggles, you will unconsciously create struggle. If you see yourself as someone who wins, you will naturally look for solutions instead of excuses. Life doesn't respond to what you want, it responds to who you believe you are. That belief quietly shapes your decisions, your confidence, and your consistency. Many people sabotage their own progress because their identity is misaligned with their goals. They say they want success, but deep down they still see themselves as average, unqualified, or unworthy. When opportunity shows up, their identity rejects it. When discipline is required, their old self-image pulls them back. This is why change feels uncomfortable. It threatens the version of you that has become familiar. Growth requires letting go of identities that no longer serve your future. Identity also determines standards. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your standards. And standards are an expression of identity. When you see yourself as a leader, you naturally act with discipline, integrity, and responsibility. When you see yourself as valuable, you stop accepting low-level behavior, relationships, and outcomes. You don't need external motivation. When your identity is strong, your actions become automatic because they are aligned with who you believe you are. The most powerful shift you can make is deciding in advance the kind of person you are becoming, not after success arrives, but before it shows up. You don't wait to feel confident to act confident. You act confident because that is who you are choosing to be. Identity creates behavior, behavior creates habits, habits create results, and results reinforce identity. This is the cycle that high performers live by. When you focus on identity before achievement, pressure decreases and consistency increases. You stop chasing validation and start operating from conviction. You are no longer trying to prove yourself. You are simply expressing who you are. This is where real confidence comes from. Not from applause, money, or titles, but from alignment between your inner belief and outer actions. The moment you redefine who you are, your future begins to rearrange itself. New choices feel natural. Discipline feels normal. Growth feels inevitable. Achievement stops being something you chase and starts becoming something you attract. Because when your identity is upgraded, success is no longer a possibility. It becomes a byproduct. Most people have been taught a dangerous belief that if you just work harder, success will eventually come. While effort is important, Effort alone is not what the world rewards. Income does not rise in direct proportion to how tired you are, how long you work, or how much you struggle. Income rises in proportion to the value you bring to the marketplace. This misunderstanding is why so many hardworking people remain underpaid, frustrated, and confused. They are putting in effort, but they are not increasing value. Value is about usefulness, impact, and problem-solving ability. The marketplace does not pay for time, it pays for results. It pays for solutions to problems that matter. Two people can work the same number of hours, yet earn completely different incomes, not because one works harder, but because one provides greater value. The moment you understand this, your entire approach to work, learning, and growth changes. You stop asking, how can I work more? And start asking, how can I become more valuable? When you increase your value, opportunities start looking for you. Value attracts demand. Demand creates leverage, and leverage is what allows income to grow without burning yourself out. This is why some people earn more in 1 hour than others earn in a week. They are not cheating the system. They understand. They invested time in learning high-value skills, developing expertise, and positioning themselves where their contribution makes a bigger difference. Effort without strategy leads to exhaustion. Value with strategy leads to expansion. Many people stay busy doing low-value tasks because they feel productive, but productivity is not the same as profitability. Being busy can be a distraction from becoming better. Growth requires intentional learning, uncomfortable improvement, and the humility to admit that what got you here may not get you where you want to go. Increasing your value means sharpening your thinking, improving your communication, deepening your skills, and learning how to solve bigger problems. It means moving from being replaceable to being rare. When what you do can easily be replaced, your income is limited. When what you do is difficult to replace, your income becomes flexible. The goal is not to be the hardest worker in the room, but the most useful one. This shift also changes how you view time. Instead of trading hours for money, you begin to build assets, skills, systems, ideas, and influence that continue to produce results beyond your direct effort. You stop relying solely on physical energy and start leveraging intellectual and strategic value. This is how growth becomes sustainable. Once you understand that income follows value, not effort, you stop feeling guilty about wanting more. You realize that earning more is not about greed, it's about contribution. The more value you create, the more people you can serve, and the more impact you can make. Hard work opens the door, but value determines how far you can go. When you commit to becoming more valuable, income is no longer something you chase. It becomes something you attract. Time is the only currency every person receives in equal measure each day, yet the outcomes could not be more unequal. You can earn more money, recover losses, and replace material things, but once time is spent, it is gone forever. Every minute you use as a decision, whether you are conscious of it or not, the quality of your future is being shaped by how you spend your time today, not by what you say you want, but by what you repeatedly choose. Most people treat time casually and then wonder why life feels rushed, stressful, and unfulfilled. They give their best hours to distractions and their leftover energy to their dreams. Time misuse is rarely obvious. It hides behind habits that feel harmless, scrolling, procrastinating, overcommitting, and reacting instead of planning. These small leaks repeated daily drain years from potential without making a sound. When you don't control your time, something else will, and it is usually not aligned with your highest goals. Wise use of time begins with awareness. You must recognize that not all hours are equal. Some hours build your future, while others simply maintain your present. If your daily actions are only focused on surviving today, tomorrow will look exactly the same. Progress requires intentional investment of time into activities that produce growth, learning, and long-term results. What you practice daily is what you perfect eventually. Whether it is discipline or distraction, protecting your time is an act of self-respect. When you value your time, you stop saying yes to everything and start saying yes to what matters. You understand that every commitment is a trade-off. Saying yes to one thing automatically means saying no to another. Successful people are not rude or selfish, they are selective. They understand that focus is more powerful than force and alignment is more valuable than busyness. Time management is not about doing more things. It is about doing the right things consistently, filling your schedule. Does not mean you are moving forward. Forward motion comes from prioritizing high-impact actions and eliminating low-value activities. Discipline and time use creates freedom later. The hours you invest in growth today reduce the struggle you experience tomorrow. When you spend time wisely, stress decreases and clarity increases. You stop reacting to life and start directing it. You no longer feel behind because your actions are aligned with your intentions. Over time, small disciplined choices compound into massive results. A focused hour each day, consistently invested, can change the direction of an entire life. Time will pass whether you use it well or not. The only question is what it will leave behind. When you treat time like the currency it is, valuable, limited, and powerful, you stop wasting it on things that don't matter and start investing it in the future you actually want. Your environment is quietly shaping your future every single day, often without your permission or awareness. While most people focus on motivation and willpower, the truth is that environment is far more powerful. The places you spend time, the people you listen to, the conversations you engage in, and the information you consume are constantly influencing how you think, what you believe, and what you consider possible. Over time, these influences compound and begin to look like destiny, even though they started as surroundings. Human behavior is largely a response to environment. You don't rise or fall randomly, you adapt. If your environment encourages comfort, distraction, and low standards, your growth will slow no matter how strong your intentions are. On the other hand, when your environment challenges you, stretches your thinking, and exposes you to higher standards, growth becomes natural. This is why the same person can perform at wildly different levels in different environments. The room you're in matters more than you think. Many people remain stuck not because they lack ability, but because their environment keeps reinforcing old identities. When you are surrounded by people who think small, complain often, or resist change, those behaviors start to feel normal. You may not agree with them, but repetition creates familiarity, and familiarity shapes belief. Over time, you begin to lower your expectations, not because you want to, but because your environment trains you to. Changing your environment is not about arrogance or rejection. It is about alignment. Growth requires exposure to new ideas, higher standards, and different ways of thinking. When you step into environments where excellence is normal, you are forced to upgrade your habits and mindset. You begin to see what is possible because it is happening around you. Your vision expands when your surroundings expand. Environment also includes what you feed your mind. The content you consume daily becomes the raw material for your thoughts. If you constantly consume negativity, drama, and low-value information, it will limit your creativity and confidence. If you consistently expose yourself to learning, strategy, and constructive ideas, your thinking sharpens. What you listen to eventually becomes how you speak to yourself. Elevation often requires separation. Some environments are not bad, they are just not built for your next level. Outgrowing a space is a sign of growth, not disloyalty. When you intentionally design your environment, your schedule, your inputs, your relationships, you stop leaving your future to chance. Destiny stops being something that happens to you and becomes something you shape through deliberate choice. Your environment is either pulling you forward or holding you back. When you choose environments that demand more from you, support your growth, and de-align with your vision, progress becomes inevitable. Over time, what once felt uncomfortable becomes normal, and your destiny rises to meet the standard of the world you chose to live in. Faith without action is nothing more than a hopeful idea, and action without faith quickly turns into frustration. Transformation only happens when belief and behavior move together. Faith gives direction, while action provides proof. One without the other creates imbalance, but when they are aligned, change becomes inevitable. Real growth begins the moment you stop waiting to feel ready and start moving with conviction, even when the outcome is not yet visible. Faith is not passive optimism. It is a decision to believe before evidence appears. It is choosing to trust the process when results are delayed and progress feels slow. Every meaningful breakthrough in life begins with belief in something that does not yet exist. Without faith, fear takes control. Doubt magnifies obstacles, hesitation delays progress, and comfort replaces commitment. Faith silences those distractions and gives you the courage to act despite uncertainty. Action is where faith proves its sincerity. It is easy to say you believe in change, success, or growth, but belief that never shows up in behavior is empty. Action requires discipline, consistency, and the willingness to be uncomfortable. It demands effort when motivation is low and persistence when progress feels invisible. Action transforms belief into momentum and intention into reality. Many people struggle because they separate these two forces. They either believe but never move, or they move without believing it will work. In both cases, transformation stalls. Faith alone creates fantasy. Action alone creates exhaustion. But when faith fuels action, effort feels purposeful and obstacles become temporary. You stop quitting because you trust that why our work is leading somewhere meaningful. Faith also shapes how you interpret challenges. When belief is strong, setbacks become lessons instead of stop signs. Failure no longer defines you, it refines you. Action taken with faith builds resilience because you are no longer dependent on immediate results for validation. You understand that growth happens beneath the surface before it shows up in visible outcomes. Transformation is not an event, it is a process. It is built through small, faithful actions repeated daily. Each step taken reinforces belief, and each belief strengthens commitment. Over time, this cycle compounds into confidence, clarity, and strength. You begin to trust yourself because you see evidence of consistency in your own actions. When faith and action work together, change is no longer a possibility, it becomes unavoidable. You stop waiting for perfect conditions and start creating momentum where you are. The life you desire does not appear through hope alone or effort alone, but through the powerful combination of belief and motion. This is where real transformation begins. As you step forward, remember this. 2026 will not be defined by chance, luck, or circumstances. It will be defined by the choices you make and the standards you refuse to lower. Clarity will give you direction. Identity will anchor your actions. Value will elevate your income. Time will shape your future. Environment will influence your growth. And faith paired with action will unlock transformation. None of these require permission, perfect conditions, or extraordinary talent. They require commitment. The future is already waiting for the version of you who decides to rise. Not someday, not next year, now. If you choose to live intentionally, protect your time, raise your value, and act with belief, 2026 will not be just another chapter, it will be the turning point. The question is no longer whether change is possible. The only question that remains is this: will you become the person your future demands?